We are making urgent inquiries to locate Tom Phillips' other children who we hold serious concerns for.
There is a missing persons case that has been resolved after years. We are talking about a man who is believed to have been living in the New Zealand wilderness with his 3 children. They are saying that they have been found, but apparently he didn't easily go into custody, leading to a terrifying shootout with police. We're taking a look at the sightings of the father and 3 kids over the years, how law enforcement finally caught up with them, and how a police force can even begin to search these huge swaths of wilderness. And we're going to do this all with Billy Lane, a private investigator and expert on missing person cases. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. 3 young children allegedly taken by their father deep into the wilderness and made to live on the land. This is a story that has haunted New Zealand for years. In fact, the country's Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon, said this week, quote, "I doubt there is a New Zealander who has not followed, to some extent, the story of the abduction of the children." That's how big this is. Well, now what are we talking about? We are finally closer to getting answers about what exactly happened in this rural community and how the children were ultimately found. We are talking about Tom Phillips and his 3 young children who disappeared in 2021. And they disappeared from the Waikato region where the family had a farm. And now, nearly 4 years after they were first reported missing, the children, 2 daughters, a son, believed to now be 9, 10, and 12 years old, we are talking about them being found. According to New Zealand police, Phillips and the children's mother, they did not have a good relationship. And he did not have, by the way, legal custody of the kids at the time they went missing. You kind of see where the story's going, right? Here's actually a timeline of what apparently happened. This is according to reporting from the New York Times, the BBC, the Independent. In September 2021, Tom Phillips and his 3 kids, they were first reported missing. There is a massive 3-week manhunt for them. This is after Phillips' truck was found abandoned on this wild beach near where they had lived. Searchers, they combed through the bush. They launched helicopters to search both the land and the water, but eventually the search was called off, with the Independent reporting that authorities feared that all of them might be dead. We fast forward to a couple weeks later, and that is when Phillips suddenly reappeared with the kids, came out of the bush saying they'd just been camping. Phillips was reportedly an avid outdoorsman. Now, he was charged with wasting police resources because, after all, the search had cost the country, hundreds of thousands of dollars? But then you go to December of 2021. Phillips and the kids disappeared again. Now, this time, the police didn't launch a search, according to the Independent, at least in part because he had reportedly told family members that they were going on another camping trip, but they never came back. January, a warrant was issued for Phillips' arrest when he didn't show up for a court date. Then you go to 2023. There were numerous sightings of Phillips, including inside of a hardware store where his face was apparently partially covered with a mask. He was also believed to have been involved in a bank robbery with at least 1 accomplice. 2024, the next year, police offered up a reward of 80,000 New Zealand dollars, so it's about $47,000 in the United States, for information that would lead to the children's location. But there was no luck, there were no bites, nothing happened. So the police end up speaking with the children's mother, who's known only as Kat, and they released a video clip of her in June of last year.
"I'm standing here before you today, begging you for your help to bring my babies home. They are just innocent children. They do not deserve to be treated this way. They do not deserve the life that is being provided to them right now."
Here's the thing, though. Phillips actually found some supporters online. There was a search of his name on Facebook. It brings up not only articles about the search and the shootout, but also posts from people saying there's no proof the children are being harmed or in danger in any way.
Many of you say that the children are fine, that they're being well looked after. How do you know? Have you seen them? Or is it just bush talk? What Thomas is doing is not okay. It is not okay to divide and conquer. It is not okay to isolate and control. It is child neglect. It is child endangerment. It is child abandonment. It is child abuse. None of this is okay. My babies deserve better.
Now, we talk a lot of scary stories here on Sidebar, but let me tell you this. If you are a homeowner, you need to listen to this. In today's AI and cyber world, there are scammers who are stealing home titles, and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. So criminals forge your signature on just one document. They use a fake notary stamp. They pay a small fee with your county, and just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans using your equity or even sell your property, and you won't even know what's happened until you get a collection or foreclosure notice. I mean, when was the last time you checked your home title? If your answer is never, you need to do something about it right now. That is why we have partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code SIDEBAR at HometitleLock.com and you will get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does happen, they will spend up to $1 million to fix it. So go to HometitleLock.com, use promo code SIDEBAR. That is HometitleLock.com, promo code SIDEBAR. Now we go to October of 2024, and the family was reportedly spotted from a distance by pig hunters. Yeah, they apparently took some video, shows an adult, these three smaller people. They had backpacks, they had gear, they were apparently walking in the wilderness. And surveillance footage is believed to be what actually led to a break in this case. What do I mean? CCTV footage from August 27th, released by police, shows a person believed to be Phillips, plus a shorter person, arriving at a local store and breaking in. They load supplies onto this four-wheeler or quad bike, and then they leave. So someone calls authorities to, report the break-in. New Zealand's police commissioner provided reporters with an update on Monday about what actually happened next.
Police received a call from a member of the public that they believed they were witnessing a burglary in action at a rural farm supply store in Puopio. Information came to police that described two people on a quad bike, dressed in farm clothing and wearing headlamps. Knowing the information that we had previously had that had seen Tom Phillips also in this area, additional staff were called out and responded to that location. The quad bike was observed travelling along the Waipuna Road, which is a rural gravel road that intersects with Deininger Road, which is the main road that leads back to Marakopa. At about 3:20 this morning, officers laid spikes at that intersection. The quad bike has run over the spikes. The two occupants have been on that bike, and it has come to a rest on this rural road a short time later. The first attending police officer at that scene has come across that stopped quad bike and been confronted by gunfire at close range. Our officer has been struck in the head. He's immediately fallen to the ground and taken cover. Soon after, a second patrol unit arrived and has engaged the offender, and he has died at the scene. A second person was located at the scene, and multiple firearms were located on and around the quad bike. Our injured officer has been airlifted to Waikato Hospital by the Westpac Rescue, and he is undergoing surgery as we speak. He has received critical injuries and will require numerous surgeries.
According to the latest reporting, that officer is expected to survive, thankfully, but it will be a long road to recovery. While the police commissioner didn't officially confirm that suspect was Phillips, it was clear that's who they believed the man to be, and some of his family members confirmed to local media that it was Phillips that was shot and killed. By the way, when the commissioner gave that news conference, authorities had only found one of the three children, so dozens of searchers they fanned out to try to find the other kids. Now, fortunately, a little later, there was some good news.
As I said at the earlier briefing this afternoon, we would provide you further information as soon as we knew anything else. And I can tell you with great relief this evening that soon after 4:30 today, we've located Tom Phillips' remaining children. They've been found in a campsite not far from here, further up the Deininger Road, and they are with police officers now and being removed from that location. I can confirm that the children are well and uninjured, and they will be taken to a location this evening for medical checks.
Now, according to police, the first child they found helped narrow down the search for their siblings, and authorities released a few photos of this makeshift campsite that had been built. CNN reports that specialist negotiators were called in to help approach that site. These are young children who have been out in the wilderness for years, possibly maybe no other real human contact, and now suddenly their campsite is surrounded by strangers. Imagine that scene. Authorities say they knew there was at least one gun and ammunition at the campground, so they were extra careful with how they handled it. So now I want to bring on Billy Lane, who is a private investigator, a missing persons expert, and is part of the nonprofit group We Are the Essentials. I actually saw him this past weekend at CrimeCon. The work that you do is incredible. Billy, I'm so happy to have you on. This is a weird one, right? Such good news, right? These children are found. They're reportedly uninjured. It's unfortunate that the situation ended the way that it seemingly has, although there hasn't been 100% confirmation. It appears that Phillips was shot and killed, especially we're talking about an injured police officer. But it's not too often that we get to report on an ending like this, particularly with young people, right?
Correct. I would have assumed that this would have been a tragic outcome, especially after multiple years of him being missing with the children. It would make me believe that he might have taken them, I believe, based on facts that were being developed by the law enforcement there, and even through families and friends who said that they had seen him in a stolen vehicle. I even think that there was reports that the ex-wife said that she's seen him in a stolen vehicle, but for some reason couldn't get the vehicle stopped in time enough to rescue the children. It's heartbreaking that the children have gone through this type of terror for multiple years with their father. And I'm really concerned about the kids.
And what is that reintroduction to society, right? You know, they've been with they're apparently with their father for years. We don't know what that environment has been like. I mentioned before, maybe they had contact with others, maybe they didn't. What is that reintegration into society, into a family life, into the community? What does that look like for people who have been missing or taken?
Wow. I mean, for the children, I can't even imagine where you would even start at. For several years, they have been with their father, living in the woods, living in campsites, living on the run. I'm not quite sure where the father's mental status was during all of this. Maybe he had talked to them about not trusting others for several years, and he was the only figure that they would trust for multiple years. And now that figure is gone. You know, law enforcement killed their father. So over these years, they may have learned not to trust others. And that's going to be very hard, especially when they start trying to come back around mom. And who knows, he may have poisoned the children against the mother to begin with. And that's their only sanctuary at this point now, once dad is gone and trying to get back into society.
Are you surprised it took this many years for there to be a resolution? How is it possible they could have been missing for that long a period?
Absolutely. In law enforcement, this should have been a priority. They should have been able to determine whether or not the children were still alive, and if not, figure out where they were. And if they believe that they were still alive, to use all the resources possible. You have to understand, from the reports that I'm reading, there were only like 65 people that lived in this little town. And from other reports, it said that the town's folks were supporting him, thinking that he was a hero for taking his children and then taking them into the woods and trying to protect them based on what they were saying. I've never heard of a story like this before, especially at this level. For somebody to be able to take their children, spend this much time in the woods, it's unheard of. And I'm happy that there is a resolution. I'm happy that the parents and mom is able to sort of reunite with these kids and bring them back to where they need to be at, because these are small children. The only positive possible outcome is that they are small and they're able to bounce back, because little kids can bounce back sometimes a lot better than us older folks can. So that's the only positive I see in this.
Is it also what the area we're talking about, right? My understanding is this is a very remote part of New Zealand. There's really dangerous terrain. There's thick bushes. There's rocky cliffs. There's choppy waters. How do you even go about organizing a search of a place like that? How difficult is that?
It's extremely difficult, especially at our level. We do this a lot, but not at that extreme vast amount of area that you're locating. You're typically using drones and helicopters, aerial coverage, You try to use dogs for license. And if you notice in these scenarios, every time that they would come in the public, they'd be wearing masks, which was very weird. And I didn't know, and maybe this had been started back during the COVID era, but even so, for them just to show up in towns wearing masks and they were doing robberies and burglaries and criminal activities so they could maintain, I guess, a lifestyle, stealing vehicles, driving these stolen vehicles around town. But I think we have to understand maybe the law enforcement there is not the law enforcement that we have grown to accustom here in the United States. Maybe the quality of manpower is not there, the resources are not there. But this seems to be a very big story. I don't understand why more resources weren't put towards locating these kids sooner than this. It almost seemed like they were just waiting for the opportunity to present itself. And what I'm really concerned about is that, over 10 months ago, there was an interview by the mother saying that I don't believe that this will end well when it does end. And she was blowing the whistle on the whole scenario 10, 11 months ago, wanting help, trying to get her children back, and rightfully so. One of the things that she said was, I'm concerned about the kids. I'm concerned what happens if something happens to him. What happens if he dies or he's killed in a shootout and the kids aren't found, or he doesn't tell the kids where they're at? Or if he gets arrested and the children aren't with him, how do they find the kids if he doesn't tell them where the children are? So these are valid concerns. And there could have been a horrible number of different scenarios that played out in this story. But I think this was the best one, that at least they had the adult child that was able to take them back to the other children.
You make this point. I mean, there's a lot of speculation about whether someone was helping Phillips, right? Providing food, supplies, hiding the family, maybe in a cabin. Were they really camping that whole time? If someone is missing and there are searches going on, there is an active police investigation, at what point does a person become an accomplice or co-conspirator to something like this? How do they look into now whether someone may have had a role in keeping them hidden or concealed?
I think you have to determine whether they were aware of it. And in this scenario, it sounded like everybody in the area was aware of the media coverage on the story. So I think it's going to be hard for somebody to say that I wasn't aware that, he had ran away from his home, and the extent of time. If they're living there, or they're staying at your house or your camper or your campground for 2 and 3 years with small children who are not in school, these are raising red flags that, I think it's going to be hard to try to defend that. But absolutely, anybody who provides, supplies, vehicles. And in one story that I listened into, they said that he was possibly in a stolen vehicle that might have been provided by a friend or family who later took and reported the vehicle stolen, I guess, once they realized that maybe that wasn't the best thing to do. So there's a lot of scenarios. There's a lot of moving parts in the story. I think the best part of the story is that the kids are okay, and that they will be brought back, and they will be given the help they need, and hopefully and soon reunited with mom. But I wonder what that looks like. I wonder what that transition to seeing mom again looks like after spending that much time with dad. Evidently, he had a lot of paranoia going on. Now, whether that was chemical paranoia or a mental issue that he was dealing with, something was causing him to go and do that. I know in the very beginning of the story, they said that he'd left for a short period of time and came back with the kids, like everything was fine. And then he left again. I don't know if he was just testing the waters. Was he testing his ability? Was he just trying to lay down a foundation that maybe he'd come back again? So maybe they weren't going to go use resources to find him. So there's multiple possibilities here.
And real quickly, the public's role in this. And when you're seeing eyewitness accounts of maybe sightings or police releasing new images from CCTV footage, how important is that in a search?
It's absolutely the fundamental of the search, because you want to know the location. For us, if you're on foot, your last known location, we're going to 2-mile perimeter, and that's where we're going to start our search at. If you're on a side-by-side or a four-wheeler or maybe even a vehicle, we're looking at 5 miles. So that's very important. I always tell people when we start doing searches that we're looking for bona fide, certified locations of where these people are at. So we're not talking about just, I might have seen them or that might have been them. We typically look for video that we can confirm. But now in this case, it's hard because they got masks on. So can you really confirm that to be them, or can we just assume it to be them? So I think there's a lot of issues you're dealing with here. Now, I know the The mother said that she had seen this person in the vehicle that she thought to be the ex-husband, and she believed based on his movement and how he was moving that that was him, and the fact that there might have been children in the car along with him. But to your point, Jesse, I do believe it would be extremely hard to live in the woods with 3 children, especially that age. This is not something that's easy to do, and based on information provided by the ex-wife, he was not an outdoorsman.
Billy, I really appreciate you coming on. For anybody who doesn't know, Billy actually took the time to come on in the middle of a trial, so I really appreciate it. Your booth was packed at CrimeCon. People were so interested in the work that you do. So before I sign off, if you could tell everybody where they can find you, if they want to help with the work that you do, where is the best place they should go?
They can go to wearetheessentials.com where they can learn about our mission to help find missing loved ones for free. We do this in Central Florida, and we're hoping and praying that God gives us the ability to expand our ability to help throughout the United States. So please like and follow us, and if you're able to, make a small donation. It helps the next family.
Billy Lame, good seeing you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, sir. Have a great day.
And that is all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. You can follow me on Instagram, X. I'll see you next time, everybody.